Hello. Welcome again to another episode of the GreenBaje podcast. This is round number 5, I think. I'm Ken. I'm the Bage. That is Ajay. He's the Green, GreenBaje number 5. And we are off and running. So, this week, we had no games to talk about, but everybody knows that we have a big game coming up. Next weekend is the Super Bowl. However, it would be unbeknownst of us to start there. We don't have to start talking about the Super Bowl right off the bat. I believe we can get back to that conversation because it's going to come in. Everybody's been talking about the Super Bowl all week long. However, the one thing that I did want to bring up, I wanted to highlight was that this off season is shaping up to be one of the most interesting off seasons in recent history. We have many teams who are going to be looking for one reason or another. They're going to be looking for a new quarterback. And last week we started our conversation about quarterbacks. We spent most of the time we talked about Deshaun Watson. But little did we know that the quarterback who was going to be on the move, like pretty much just after we finished talking about it, it was going to be Matthew Stafford being traded to the Rams. I didn't see that coming. Did you see that coming?
I did not see that one coming. I did not, as much as we were hearing rumblings from the Rams camp about Jared Goff, I did not see that coming, honestly.
This is real for me. This is really, really surprising. No, I think this is just about as much a referendum on Goff as it is for the Rams. And you can remember, AJ, we've spoken about this and we've hinted at it quite a few times on this pod as well. Mm-hmm. I had very little love for the Rams and especially for Jared Goff, especially when the T-Folk me Saints. But anyhow, we're not getting back into that conversation.
Better not.
I remember that the whole conversation and the whole topic was just how good is Goff? Because Goff was the number 1 overall pick for the Rams when they had Jeff Fisher, Mr. 7-9. Oh, sorry, 8-8. They said that Jeff Fisher is 8-8. For his career, he is a career 8-8 coach. So I remember he was horrible under Fisher, and everybody thought that Goff was a bust. And then in comes Sean McVay, who apparently had the Midas touch, and Goff looked like gold at that point. He was one of the hottest quarterbacks in the league. I think he got to the Pro Bowl. He was excellent.
Like a 2-time Pro Bowl or something like that, yeah.
Exactly. However, I heard it said, and then I started watching it for myself. And I recognize that Goff is good when you give him ideal circumstances. When everything around him is working perfectly, Goff can kill you. And one of the things that the Rams did a lot of was that they used to use the same personnel set to do most of their stuff. It used to be 3 wide receivers, 1 running back, 1 tight end, and then it would be all kinds of motions, sweeps, you name it, a lot of window dressing, some really great play action because at that time, in that first season, they still had Gurley in the backfield. And Goff was killing it. But really and truly, was he killing it? Because later on in the season, in that same season, the conversation or the comments were being made that Goff was the body, but Sean McVay was the brain. And McVay was talking to Goff up until they cut the mic off, 15 seconds left on the play clock. Letting Goff know, what was happening, who was doing what, and what he should do. And then then defenses started shifting after that 15 seconds, and Goff was lost. I never thought that Goff was that great a quarterback. He's not shown it yet in his career. And while we may be giving a lot of credit to McVay, I don't think that Goff has done enough to get more credit from me. What do you think?
Uh, I don't know. I've always kind of, I wouldn't say been an apologist, but I've always found it a bit hard to say that, like, uh, to sort of categorize him as not good. I don't think it's that he's not good. I think Goff is limited, right? I think that, like you said, and I agree, with ideal circumstances, he can be, I guess he could be at least productive, I guess, for the most part. But then they, especially when you're going, when your target is a Super Bowl, there comes a time when you need a um a quarterback to be a bit more than that, right? And I think that McVay just ended up realizing that Goff does not have that. I mean, he would play well enough in the season to be selected for the Pro Bowl and whatnot. Had that twice. He even and even when the Rams went to the Super Bowl, they weren't one of the top ranked defenses in the league. So, I mean, I guess you could say like he did his fair share, but he just has a ceiling that is lower than the team needs right now. It's just, he just can't get it done. He just can't get that level done, and I can't blame them for moving on. But I, is I don't want to say the man is bad. I don't think he's bad. I don't think he's bad. I don't think I've ever said he's bad. I'm going to continue along that. I'm not going to say he's bad. He's limited, and me being a Tom Brady fan too, I can't necessarily, in terms of the like the I guess some of the physical, the athletic. He's not very athletic. But like you said, he also didn't possess much of the quarterback IQ, if you will. The fact that he had to be coached throughout the entire players, like you said, I think he's limited, and Rams had to do what they had to do.
But the thing is, right? Goff, all right, so on the back of that Super Bowl run, I mean, of course, as I mentioned before, they did get a fairly good hand from the refs. But anyhow, on that Super Bowl run, on the back of that season, Goff signed a 4-year, $134 million extension, which is an average salary of $33.5 million and total guarantees of $110 million. You do not pay a man that is limited. You do not pay anybody that's less than a superstar, in my opinion, that kind of money. Because when you are giving your quarterback that amount of money, the biggest thing about the NFL is that the NFL is a salary cap league. It is a hard cap. It's not like the NBA where you have a cap, and then if you go above the cap, then there's a luxury tax that you pay for going above the cap. The NFL's cap is set. So if one man is pocketing $33 million, that reduces the amount of money that you have to spend on the rest of the roster. Mm-hmm. And when you look at Jared Goff, you talk about my boy Drew Brees is not that guy. Goff is not even what Brees is this season.
I would never put them in the same class. I would give it up. I would never put them in the same class.
Exactly. So when you're paying Jared Goff $33.5 million, no. To be fair, just the whole saying the NBA, every player, especially the superstar players, they always sign that first extension. In the NFL, having that guaranteed money is important because you're literally one play away from retirement in most cases. So I don't blame Goff for signing the contract, but somewhere along the line, your talent evaluators have to come and tell you, hey, look, really and truly, right? This guy, yeah, we could probably win with him, but he ain't it. He not it. He not ready.
I feel like some of the thinking at that time may have been that the last thing you just said, that they felt like possibly they still could win with him. Because bear in mind, remember they moved up in a draft to get Jared Goff, right? And
Mhm.
it was like, if I remember, I'm pretty sure I heard it was like 6 picks they gave away to move up to that number one spot to get Goff. And so I'm guessing, yeah, so they had him rated highly enough that they moved up to take him with that pick. Then he's a Pro Bowler 2 years. In the second year, they go to the Super Bowl. And I guess at that time, and it was I think that contract too had a lot to do with the market at the time. It wasn't just him in isolation, but I mean, you know how you know how this thing does work, right? So
Mhm.
it had a lot to do with the quarterback market at the time. And it just seemed like, and mind you, I'm not trying to justify the decision itself. I'm just saying I feel like I understand what the rationale was at that point. And at that, I guess it was just, yeah, based on the market, it seemed like he was trending upwards, and it's like, all right, we understand he is what he is, but he's still clearly good enough to get us to this stage. So we just need to work on a few other aspects of the team, but we need to lock down this quarterback, lock him down, work on other aspects of the team, and we should be fine. And it just didn't pan out that way. Like I said, I'm not gonna say it was the best decision, but on some level, I get it. And then it is what it is. No, I just had to cut ties and move on.
No, the
And
thing
as I
is,
was saying earlier, I had to convince people to take his contract. No, but they found a way to do it.
yeah, that's exactly it. Because for every trade, you also have to find somebody who's willing to trade with you. And Detroit, for all intents and purposes, they were again. Well, you can't call them a mark because Detroit trades Stafford to the Rams, and in return they get Goff, who we've spoken about at length. They get next season's first round pick and the season after that. So it's 2022, 2023 first round pick, and this year, 2021's third round pick. So let's look at it now from the Detroit standpoint. I personally believe that Detroit won this trade, even though this trade is set up a lot like an NBA trade, where you do what you have to do to get out from under a bad contract. Where when we hear certain deals have been made and we consider that that contract may be untradeable, like John Wall, for example, you just need the perfect circumstances of somebody else who's just as desperate as you are to move Russell Westbrook, and you say, okay, cool, maybe we can work something out here. And what Detroit gets, they get Stafford, sorry, out of there. They get Goff in there and all of these picks. But we know that the whole momentum or the idea behind moving first round picks, especially if you're the Rams, is that if we can make our team good enough, chances are these first round picks will not be like picking in the top 10 or even in the top 15. You're going to be picking in like the bottom five.
Yeah.
So, how much value then? Like, how do you value and weigh these picks for Detroit now getting Goff plus the picks?
Uh, like you said, on paper it seems like Detroit won, right? But I have no faith in Detroit as an organization to do anything with any of these picks. Like you said, like I feel like the Rams will probably be good enough. So yes, it may be a lower um, pick in terms of the order, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like Detroit going to do anything with it. Let's be honest. What has Detroit done? What has Detroit ever really done in our time watching this sport? What has Detroit really done to convince you that they have some sort of plan? That Stafford had all the leverage in this, right? So he had to get out. They apparently, well, they got in contact. They knew that the Rams were serious about dealing Goff. So all right, they took Goff. That's cool. But now we have a head coach, and I know you can't disagree with me here. You cannot tell me that you're impressed by that first interview that Dan Campbell had, the kneecap biter. So, so he talking about biting kneecaps, and Jared Goff is not that type of player. So, so I'm looking at it from a realistic point of view, right? You get Goff. I am so intrigued to see how this tandem of head coach and quarterback is going to work. And then, like you said, I feel like the Rams are going to be good enough. So these picks are going to be like lower down in the order. And I still have no faith in the Lions to do anything with the picks. So on paper, it looks like, yes, they still got a good deal considering that Stafford had the leverage and he wanted out. But the Lions are going to piss it away, as they always do.
But the funny thing for me too is that, well, like I saw a stat where it said that Detroit has won one playoff game, not gotten to the Super Bowl. They've won one playoff game in 60 years. And as you talk about the kneecap biter, right? Like when I saw that interview and I heard what he said, because you know that he was hired off of the Saints coaching staff.
Yeah, he was a tight end coach.
He was my tight ends coach. Yeah, he like. All right, we can come back to that in a second. But when I heard what he said in that interview, I was like, you know, I am not sorry that he's gone, because we can be biting kneecaps and then we can be like what?
That's the best thing you could think to say in your first interview.
And you know, he had to practice that though. He could have just committed and just bring that off the rip.
Well, I would hope not.
But if you
practicing it just as bad, it is.
So enough about Detroit. So now we got Stafford over in Los Angeles, and I am actually excited to see what Stafford is going to do in this McVay offense, because I believe that Stafford is an above average quarterback. He may not be in the elite status, and his record will go against him in that regard. However, I am not one that believes that team wins are a quarterback stat necessarily, because you have a lot of teams that have had success and the quarterbacks have stunk. And you've had a lot of teams like the Saints between 2010 and 2016, I think, coming shortly after the Super Bowl when we got hemmed up in the Bounty Gate scandal. You saw that the team was not very good, but Drew Brees was passing for 5,000 yards. So the team was going 7-9 for a few seasons, but he himself was still outperforming what the team was capable of. And I think that we have seen a lot of that with Stafford in Detroit. Los Angeles has a much better offensive line. He's going to be much better protected, so he should not be getting hurt like he has done over the last couple of seasons. They still have Cooper Kupp at wide receiver. They still have Robert Woods at wide receiver. They had the rookie, I can't remember his name now, who came on very good, coming on to the end of the season. And they have Cam Akers in the backfield. Yes, Jefferson. And they have Cam Akers in the backfield. So he has weapons. He has Tyler Higbee at tight end. He has weapons. I am confident that we are going to see the best of Stafford in this Los Angeles Rams outfit, even though I still don't care much for the Rams.
No, and like I don't know if you saw that statement. It was in one of the groups last night, and someone was saying that the pressure is on McVay now, and I was like, no, I completely disagree. The pressure is actually on Matthew Stafford. The pressure is on Stafford because he's in the position now where he doesn't really have an excuse not to perform. You wanted out of a bad situation, and there you have it. You're now set in one of the most ideal landing spots for a quarterback. Like you don't have much to do, and on paper, from the Rams' perspective, I don't think there's anyone in the league who, looking at the quarterback talent in isolation, is going to say, well, this is a trade down. It's obviously a trade up at the quarterback level, right? So it's up to Stafford now to perform. Because otherwise, I don't think anyone would say that the Rams are at fault for what they did. Stafford just needs to come out and do what he has. Like you said, he has weapons. He has enough weapons to be solid. At someone, I can't remember who it was in the media, but they said they expect Stafford to be in the MVP running at the end of by the end of next regular season.
I can see it.
I for some reason I could too. For some reason I could. You know I hold Stafford in high regard too, because for a while I was saying I would love him at us, but the man say he would go anywhere but New England. That really hurt me, you know? That hurt. I
Did it?
understand it. I understand it completely, but it hurt to hear. Just the fact that this is where we are now, right? And I honestly, that side note, I feel we're going to end up with Jimmy G. I feel we're going to end back up with Jimmy G, but that's another discussion. Yeah, I think Stafford is more than solid enough to be able to take this team where they expect him to go, and that's another reason why I feel like Deshaun is going to end up in San Francisco. But we'll get into that too as well.
Okay, I mean that's the perfect segue now because I looked at it and I said that we have an opportunity now for unprecedented quarterback movement in the NFL. We have
Shefty reported was like 18 teams who would possibly be moving on and trying to get new quarterback. 18.
All right. So now that you mentioned 18, I haven't seen that report, but what I have is a list of the teams in the NFL. So let's go through and see who we think is comfortable with their quarterback or is in the market for moving on. So let's start with the AFC North. Baltimore, comfortable or moving on?
No, they're good. Set.
Cleveland.
Same. They're moving on now, especially with the year Baker just had. I think they'll keep faith in him. He's good.
I am not so convinced. Yes, I am not so convinced. And the reason why I'm not so convinced is that because all right, we know we can contrast it with the team that we just called Baltimore. Baltimore has rebuilt their entire offensive system around Lamar. And they will go as far as Lamar can take them. However, I do not necessarily see the same in Cleveland, at least not yet. Stefanski has had a great first season, but we've seen a lot of these head coaches have great first years and then sophomore slumps when people have had a little more time, they've had a little more tape, and they can work out what you're trying to do.
Wait. So you're saying, but I'm talking about just for this season. So you feel that all that being said and all that we've seen, you still feel that they would potentially move on from Baker for this season?
If better is available, because in the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes, Cleveland was one of the names that was also being mentioned as having, made a call and tried to kick the tires. If better is available, Baker will be elsewhere. That is how I see it, and that is how he has not. I have said this multiple times. He has not shown me enough to convince me that he is the guy. He has had.
I just had his best season, Ken.
It was not hard to have his best season.
That's not the shootout that he had. It was with the Ravens. It was with the Ravens. Actually, it was with the Ravens when Lamar had to leave and come back and then threw the winning touchdown to Hollywood Brown and whatnot. Right. The shootout that the man had, it was arguably the best game he's ever played in the NFL. The man was willing his team. The man was willing his team to win.
It is not hard for Baker to have a career year or to have a top game.
Got them into the playoffs, beat the Steelers, who are essentially the big brothers of the division, whooped the Steelers, and he was good enough in that game. I'm not saying that wasn't his best game like the Ravens game, but he was very good in that game. They came close enough to Kansas City to pose a threat. They came close enough. If people like Rashad Higgins had a little more sense, maybe they could have even upset with Mahomes ending up being injured and whatnot. You're really harsh on Baker though.
One swallow does not make a summer. Okay, he has not shown me enough. I have come out and I have given Baker the credit when the credit was due. When I saw him do great things, when I saw him quarterback his team and lead them into fantastic positions, I came out and I said so. But Baker is still prone to give you the 3 interception, 1 touchdown game.
He is not taking into consideration the man threw 1 pick in the second half of the season, Ken. He threw 1 pick in the second half of the season. Also, Also, I feel like you're not taking into consideration the fact that the man had 3 different coaches, 2 of whom are now not even in the league, and those are the ones he struggled under. You're
Like
not
I
taking that
said,
into consideration.
I am taking it into consideration.
You're
I,
unjust.
s-
You're
I
unjust.
said, I
You're
said
unjust.
that Stefanski has done a
No,
very
boy.
good job in his first season. I said
Wow.
that
Wow. This guy.
I
This
have
guy.
not, I have not seen enough from Baker Mayfield as yet. That is the reality. Until he has shown me more, until he shows me that he's not prone to panic as soon as he gets a little pressure in the pocket, then I will give him more credit. But
He's definitely been doing better with
he
this year
has
so
he
far.
has done better. He has improved a lot this season. However, the bar was set kind of low because he was not that good in his first season. Yes, he has thrown for the most touchdowns by a rookie quarterback in league history. He also had a whole boatload of interceptions. So, and he did not play well in a lot of those games. He had a lot of empty
First
calories,
season.
garbage yards, and touchdowns at the end of games. Baker was not great in his first season. He
I'm not.
improved,
I'm not arguing that he was. I agree. He wasn't.
right? And
But he
he
was.
improved in the second, and he has improved this season. But
And
you gotta show me it
he had to
over
be under 2
six.
coaches who don't know their head from the tail and can't get a
He
job in the league today.
he has to show me it over a 16 game sample. Do not tell me about one interception in 8 games, especially when your supposed best offensive weapon tore his ACL running down a man after you threw an interception.
And he played so much better without OBJ. He played so much better without OBJ to show that he doesn't need OBJ. He doesn't need
Okay.
OBJ.
All right, look. I mean, there's much more that we could unpack on this Cleveland thing, but let me continue our walk. Cincinnati. That's Joe Burrow.
I mee, yeah, Joe won't come back from injury, and he's a number 1 there. He's solidified that.
All right. I no argument there. Once he comes back from injury, he's going to be good. Steelers. What do you think about it?
Steelers need a quarterback. I was it on? I don't know if it was on here. I've been on record saying I feel like Big Ben needs to consider retirement. I don't care what anyone thinks. I feel like Big Ben needs to consider heading to Happy Valley. Just sit down. Just sit down. You're not it anymore. I understand that he's altered his game as he has gotten a bit older, which is understandable. But there's still just the mental lapses that Ben was having, the inability to get the ball in the tight. And again, in that same game against the Browns, the man had like 500 and like you said, empty calories. A bunch of useless yards after the fact when he had to be throwing the ball because they needed to come back and
And they
Cleveland was
still
just
couldn't run the ball.
because they can't. I've heard the argument that they just need to improve the running game and it should be good. I don't buy it. They need a QB.
I agree. I mean, they do need to improve the running game. But what also helps your running game is if your quarterback can throw the ball a little further than 7 yards down the field. I would know. So if you can't throw the ball down the field, and if your wide receivers are not showing that they have the capability to catch the ball when the ball is there to be caught, then your running game is always going
Then
to
there's
struggle.
that too, to be fair. Yeah. There's that too, to be fair.
All right, so that's the North. Let's go South now. AFC South. So we know Houston right now is a dumpster fire. We don't have to talk about them. We know Deshaun wants out, so they don't have a quarterback. That's the bottom line. They
Potentially,
don't have a
yeah.
quarterback. So Indianapolis right now they are in a bit of flux because they had given what's his name, Philip Rivers. I think they had given him a 2-year deal when he had left previous San Diego and then became the LA Chargers, and he's retired now. So they don't. Well, they have Jacoby Brissett, but clearly you didn't believe in Jacoby Brissett if you brought in Philip Rivers and paid him all that money. So yeah, they need a quarterback. Jacksonville, Gardner Minshew Mania.
Jacksonville about to get one, aren't they?
Well, I mean, depending on who you talk to, they may decide not to pick Trevor Lawrence in our first pick, which to me would be a humongous mistake.
the only way that's going to the only way that's not going to happen to me is if they somehow magically convince Houston to deal them Deshaun Watson in the same division. I don't know how the heck that's going to happen. It is the most unlikely scenario, but that's the only way, unless they like offer that first pick for Houston to then take Trevor Lawrence. Is like the most uncanny or the strangest situation you could think about. That would be really interesting though. But other than that, I would say they have a QB in Trevor Lawrence.
But all right, so you raise a very interesting point though. Outside of the fact as in an interdivisional trade, the price that was being rumored for Deshaun Watson is 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and 2 young defensive stars, or young defensive players that they can mold into stars. I think that Jacksonville, remember we just talked about the Rams trading the picks to Detroit. And if the Rams are what they're supposed to be, then those picks are going to be like 30, 31, 32, no higher than 25, you would think. But Jacksonville, regardless of, this is my belief, right? Regardless of whoever Jacksonville drafts, they're drafting in the top 10 next season. So look at this now. You trade Deshaun Watson to Jacksonville, you get the first overall pick this season, a top 10 pick next season. Wherever you drop those second round picks, it doesn't even matter because they can still be pretty high in the second round as well. If Jacksonville, they will have to do a lot of like heavy bargaining, but I think that Jacksonville, if they wanted to, they could pull it off. But we know, as you said, that
if I were them, I would make a phone call. If I were them, I would make a phone call.
Can't hurt.
At least try it. Let Houston tell me no, but I would make the phone call though.
I mean, for them, it'd be a shame that Bill O'Brien's already been fired because this is the sort of foolishness that he's accustomed to doing. So,
so true. Very true.
All right, and then last in the South is Tennessee, the Titans. They just give a whole heap of money to Ryan Tannehill. I don't see them really looking into the quarterback market this offseason.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the fence about this. I feel like they would. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised whichever way they went. To be honest, like if Tannehill were to be the starter next year, that would not surprise me. But at the same time, if they, because like you said, better options are available. So if they were to attempt some sort of coup, maybe even again, if it's Deshaun or someone else, like it wouldn't completely surprise me. But based on what Tannehill has done so far, I guess I could understand if they stick with him again. You remember me? We spoke ad nauseum about Tannehill off air, right? And I feel like the who was they lost to? Who beat the Titans?
Baltimore.
It was Baltimore. Yeah. On that final play, where again I was like, I can't imagine why Ryan Tannehill was not looking at AJ Brown on that play. Again, all right. That's your guy.
But I mean, I could raise an interesting point here about how you are more convinced about Baker than you are about Tannehill, but we don't need to get into that.
Because I feel like Tannehill was part of the reason, a small part, but he was a part of the reason they lost that game. I don't feel like Baker was a reason that the Browns didn't, or the Browns were eliminated.
Yeah, but at the same time, Tannehill won the AFC South. He quarterbacked the team that won his division, which is with
one of the best rushing years in history.
But does not. But all that does is that it makes his job easier.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not saying. I mean, and don't get me wrong, Baker had arguably like the best tandem as well.
Yeah, so I mean, really and truly, we don't need to get into this whole Baker versus Tannehill thing. We could save that for another episode. So
that's a game breaker. Pocket that for now.
Yeah, you can pocket that one. So now we move on from the South and we go to the East. Oh, your land, So let me start with the team that we know for sure don't need a quarterback. Buffalo.
Yeah,
Yeah, Buffalo not kicking no tires.
they're
No.
good. They're good. Yeah.
Miami.
Uh, well, the fact that it is being reported that Tua doesn't seem to have many fans. Not let me not say many fans, but there are some concerns about his ability um, and potential going forward. I, and obviously, you know, his Miami's name. Miami's one of the teams that was being thrown around with regards to like a landing spot for Deshaun. So I I I I wouldn't be surprised if they did have a new quarterback come next season.
No,
Use as leverage.
the interesting thing for me, right, is that I heard it said before that if you have two quarterbacks, you don't have a quarterback. But somehow Miami was making it work with two quarterbacks. They were using Tua, like the startup when they put him in there, and then you had Fitzpatrick coming in like the relief pitcher.
Yeah, correct.
So it's interesting. I honestly don't have a clue what they're really doing because when Miami was losing lots of games last season, they were tanking for Tua. Then they started winning games, and they still got Tua. I know they seem not to really want Tua, but who knows? I have no idea what they're doing. I'll just wait and see. New York Jets.
I, from my own personal and I guess analysis, I feel like the Jets are one of the better landing spots for Deshaun as well. And I would say that they need a quarterback because Deshaun is available. Like you should be going for Deshaun because of the project that you can offer, what you have available, the market that you're in. I don't see the issue with moving on from Sam. There's no disrespect to Sam Darnold. I think he had in the last 2 years he's been gassed, but at the same time I feel like like you said, when better is available, you go for better, except in Baker's case. But you go, but you go for Deshaun if you can, yeah, try to make something happen there. So I would say that because Deshaun is available, they need a QB. Yes.
Well, I also agree that they most likely will have a different quarterback in their next season because Sam Darnold, to me, I think just like how Deshaun is trying his best to get out of Houston, if it was Darnold, I'd be doing the same thing because New York has not given him anything. They haven't given him skill position players to go around him. They have not given him an offensive line that really gives him an opportunity to succeed. They didn't give him model, but he had that. So I mean,
All
if
him. That was
yeah,
all him. Spin the
if
bottle king.
yeah, if it was him, I would probably look to get out because at this point, there's nothing to suggest that New York, as an organization, knows what they're doing and that they are going to be able to create that winner around him. So yeah, if New York is going to be looking for a quarterback this season, this off season, and then your Patriots.
We need a quarterback. You know that. You know I've been saying so. We need a quarterback. I was never sold on the Cam bit. I wanted him to succeed once we signed him, but and here we are at the end of the season, and even with all the external factors like the no preseason OTAs, no real sessions to get in sync with his receivers and whatnot. I really care about all of that. There's just a lot of things I saw that make me not convinced, and I feel like this year was just supposed to be a short-term relationship that was supposed to be ideally, I guess, beneficial to a certain extent for both parties, and it hasn't been for either. We need a quarterback. We desperately need a quarterback. At this point, even like I was even throwing around. I was giving you names and saying that I wouldn't mind this person here, but what leverage do we have to trade for a quarterback? That is I really don't know what, unless it's like giving away Stephon Gilmore. I really don't know what we can do to trade for one of these guys. I'm lost, but we do need one. I'd like to see how they go about doing it, because Bill, the GM, has been letting me down for years, and I've let you guys know that in the group. He has been letting me down for quite some time. The GM, that is. So I need to see how he approaches, but we desperately need a quarterback, because Jared Stidham clearly is the answer. Brian Hoyer is not even the question. So,
but I'm going to leave it there. I think you summed it up quite nicely. So I don't have to say anything about the Patriots, at least on this particular episode. So next is the AFC West. So let's just get Kansas City out of there. They got a man that they're paying $500 million. So that's not even a conversation. The Chargers. This is an interesting one because they just promoted Justin Herbert. And do you think that Herbert is the guy next season with this new head coach?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yes, I really do. I didn't. I can't tell you that I would have forecasted this. I always like to give the young QBs a chance, so I don't like to call them, like not good or garbage before I actually see them attempt to do something. I'm not going to tell you I predicted that Justin Herbert was going to be this, but he's exceeded even my expectations, and he is the guy. I don't even think at this point anyone remembers about Terrell Taylor getting his lung almost completely punctured. Yeah, I'm you know what? I don't mean to laugh at that. That's not funny. But it's just the situation. The situation. I'm glad he's okay though. But he gonna be looking for a team elsewhere.
Yeah, we know that for sure. All right. So the Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders. So right now they got two quarterbacks, and I'm not sure if John Gruden thinks he has one. That's where the interesting part is.
In their position, what do you do? Like, do you attempt to enter the Deshaun sweepstakes as well?
Nah, because the Deshaun sweepstakes, especially for where the Raiders will be picking, is going to be too expensive. For me, I would Derek Carr. To me, he's another one that's mostly going to be on the move because for the entire time that Chucky has been there, we have not had any sort of positive feelings coming out from the head coach about his quarterback. So I'm pretty sure that if not at the beginning of the season, somewhere along the line of the season, he's either going to be out completely or he's going to be on the bench.
Yeah, a small part of me feels that this could be the resurrection of Marcus Mariota.
I see that too because when he came in relief of Carr in week 16, he looked good.
Yeah, he did. He was playing with some purpose. Like he knew, this is, that Eminem, that one shot, one opportunity, had to seize it. Yeah. So I won't be surprised if he gets to start next season. Like you said, I don't know if necessarily I see them entering the Deshaun sweepstakes, but it could be Mariota's attempted comeback. Make it sound as if the guy's that old, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. I get you. I'm with you. All right, so we completed the AFC. So let's run through the NFC. So we spoke a lot about Detroit. So we know we don't have to go back through Detroit again. Minnesota, Kirk Cousins.
Minnesota need a quarterback badly.
You and I agree. Do you think they agree that they need to get a quarterback?
I think by now, I feel like by now they know it. I feel like at this point, I would be really surprised if Kirk Cousins is the starter there next season. How much? I don't know what his contract details are at this point. How much more he has left and how many more years on?
I think he has 2 more years because this was.
I can't remember when he got his. Yeah.
When he went there, this was his 3rd season there. And when he initially went there, he went on the 3-year, $84 million contract that was all guaranteed.
I just remember the 84. I can't remember how many years it was. I remember the 84 though.
Yeah, but then he signed a 2-year extension heading into the season. I don't remember what the numbers are, but it's still some heap of money. But yeah, I don't see Minnesota having much success with Kirk Cousins at quarterback. And Like I I see Kirk Cousins as cake and pastries, empty calories again. So we could
Cousins
we
never has, nor will he ever convince me.
there you go. I mean, you said that he threw the worst pass you've ever seen. So
I don't care what anyone. That's the worst. The man is the defensive back is literally running with you, and he couldn't even lob the ball over the man. That was I
it
was
was not even a defensive back. It was a
who
defensive
was
lineman.
it was
It
a
was a
lineman. Okay,
lineman.
okay.
Yeah.
For some reason I thought a
So
lineman. Okay,
it's
even
not
worse.
one of these skinny athletic dudes. It's
I
one of
get correct,
the
correct.
fast fat dudes that you couldn't outrun and you couldn't throw the ball over.
Couldn't lob the ball over the man. Anyhow, go ahead.
Yeah, Chicago. What does Chicago do? Because I don't right now. I don't even think Chicago knows what Chicago is doing personally, because they didn't. They were one team that you literally could have said that their two quarterbacks added up to zero. No, I I I believe that Trubisky is not very good. However, he's not that bad either, and he was still better than Foles when they benched him, and he showed that he was better than Foles when he came back in. But I do not think that Trubisky has shown enough for any team in the NFL, not just Chicago, but any team in the NFL, that they are going to say, we should go and try to get Trubisky because that is our guy for the future.
Yeah, I mean, I agree there. The thing about it is, I would like I said regarding the Jets. I feel like Chicago. I put Chicago in that bracket as well. With Deshaun available, you get into that sweepstakes, and I feel like they were one of the names that was being thrown around as well. Like you said, I don't think I'm as harsh as Mitch as you are. I'm not convinced that he's very good or he's next level or that, but at the same time, I don't think he's terrible. I don't think he's terrible. But Deshaun is available. So it's kind of like a no-brainer. If that is the case, yeah. Try make a push for Deshaun. Deshaun is times better than Mitch.
So if you're Chicago and you can't get Deshaun, do you give Mitch another year? Do you bring him back? Because he is out. He is a
Still on the
free
rookie
agent this
deal.
season. No, his deal is done.
Oh,
This was his fourth year in the season,
they
and
didn't take the option. Right,
because
right,
he didn't
right,
show them enough.
right. Um, if they can't get Deshaun, maybe. If they can't get Deshaun, then maybe bring him back. But I don't know. I don't see Mitch as long term. I don't see
Neither
Mitch
do
as
I.
I don't.
All right, and then Green Bay.
That's a trick question.
Actually, it is not, because I have been. I know you've been seeing it too. That there's been a lot of conversation about how the organization as a whole are considering moving on from Aaron Rodgers. It is not a done deal that
No,
he
no,
is
but
coming.
that's not even the reason why I asked you so. The reason I asked so is because in the event that they do, I would hope to God that they display enough common sense to use the guy that they just moved up to draft. Instead of drafting a skill position for Aaron Rodgers to play with, the fact that they moved up to draft his successor, I would hope that this is the guy that's replacing him, Aaron Rodgers, that is. So I would hope that they're not there. And even if they were to move on from Aaron Rodgers, that it wouldn't be to go into the market to get someone else, because it would make you know what, it would have to be Jordan Love. So I don't think they'll be in the market. I'm not convinced that they will pull like a Lions or a Texans move and have no idea what they're doing, and after moving up to draft Jordan Love, then not playing him. So I feel like either way, the quarterback who is going to be starting at the Packers next season is already at the Packers.
Okay. So, all right. So that's the north. Again, after the north, we go south. So Atlanta, well, no, let's not start Atlanta. Tampa Bay, we know that as long as Brady doesn't retire, he's back next season.
Yeah.
We don't have to spend much time on that. We know that New Orleans right now has to be looking for a successor because we don't know for sure what Breeze is doing. The tea leaves are saying that he's not coming back. Until he says he's not coming back, he's still my quarterback. So we can just move on from them as well. The two teams that have some interest will be Atlanta because I've been hearing and seeing things that are saying that the whole dynamic of the Falcons is that they're considering cleaning house, which means they're getting rid of Matt Ryan, they're getting rid of Julio Jones, they're getting rid of everybody and starting over. So I personally see that Atlanta could be in the market for a new quarterback. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. To be honest, I think it is time to blow out that project. Get Julio out of Dodge specifically. I mean, Julio had injuries himself, so you can't necessarily blame it on the franchise only. But he's still too much of a talent to continue to be wasted. So get him out. That'll be Calvin Ridley's team going forward, and I think that's okay. But with regards to the QB, yeah, I think it's time for that marriage to end and for them to move on. I think they should be, and they would be in the market for a QB.
Okay. And then finally, we have Carolina, where Teddy Bridgewater was the start of this season. He got a 3-year deal when he left my backup slot to go to Carolina. What do you think?
I'll be honest with you. I have no idea what to think about Carolina at this point. I don't. I honestly don't know how to analyze this. Because I think again they were one of the names I saw that could potentially be interested in Deshaun, but I don't know if what would they be able to give up to get him. I'm saying so to say that if they are interested in Deshaun, I could completely understand that. He's better than Teddy Bridgewater by far. But at the same time, I don't know if I would be completely surprised if Teddy was to be back next year.
Same. It's a little hard to really pick up the pulse of what's happening in Carolina because they do have a pretty high draft pick in the draft this season. But I mean, I guess we could talk about the QBs in the draft another time. You know much more about them than I do, honestly. So, is like I said, Bridgewater got a 3-year deal, and if they can't get anybody else, if they can't get anybody better, then he's going to be the starter. But right now, it's a little hard to really get a feel for what they're going to do. All right, so the East now, well, the East to me is full of question marks. The NFC East, NFC least is the division of question marks. So pick one, pick anyone. We got Dallas, the Giants,
Division I don't want to get into.
Washington football teams, and Philadelphia. Let's start with Philadelphia because Philadelphia is the one that was supposed to have had a quarterback at the beginning of the season, and somewhere along the year we recognized, oh wait a second, they don't, and then they decided that they were going to pull Carson Wentz and they were going to stick in Jalen Hurts, and yeah, Hurts beat my Saints, which helped to put us in the number 2 slot, but I don't see Hurts as the long-term answer at the position. He's not showing me enough at this point. To be fair, I'm not calling him a bust or that he's bad or whatever. He just has not shown me enough as yet. But the feeling on the street is that Carson Wentz is done in Philly. So to me, they don't really have their quarterback situation sorted out for next season.
Yeah, at this point, I agree with you there. I don't feel like they do. And I don't know if you saw this interview as well, Sirianni's first interview, where he was, you don't need to see it. Essentially, all you need to know is like, he just, again, was not convincing. I mean, he wasn't talking about biting off body parts and what have you. But at the same time, he didn't sound like he had a very good command of the role that he was about to take on. And within that, there was a section, obviously, no, if you're going to be the head coach of the Eagles, you have to know that the one question you're going to be asked is about the quarterback situation. He had absolutely no answer, said he hadn't even thought about it. That just kind of sums up the Eagles for me. I don't know what else to say from there. I I don't think that they have the situation like you. I don't think they have the situation sorted out as yet. I just have to wait to see.
All right. So then the Giants, who they're trying to tell us that they have their quarterback, but I mean, who is Daniel Jones fooling? Like Danny Dimes looked like pennies majority of the season, and then he got injured too. Like seriously?
You know what? But I think the Giants would keep Danny. I really feel like they would. They're satisfied where they are,
Okay.
especially given the uncertainty surrounding them in the division. I feel like they would make do with Danny right now.
Okay. So then Washington football team.
Need a quarterback.
Yep, definitely. Like they have no in-house answers and all the questions in the world. And then Dallas, who for all intents and purposes, I guess for every other franchise in the league, you would think that they have a quarterback, but apparently they're not that convinced because the franchise tagged them twice, I think, so far.
I mean, they did offer him some big money. He just wanted a little bit more. So it's not like they weren't willing to try and work with him. I feel like he should be back. They should work that out. They should work that out.
I feel they should. I'm not so confident that they will.
That they will.
Because
Fair.
the issue wasn't even the money necessarily with Dak Prescott and his contract. It was the time. Prescott wanted a 4-year deal and they were pushing for a
Yeah,
5.
yeah.
So at this point, like this is an expensive game of chicken for both of them. But the word is that Prescott is expected to make a full recovery. So with him making a full recovery, you can expect that he's going to be out there throwing the ball all over the place like he was doing this season, and he was one of the top quarterbacks in the league for the first 3 weeks, or sorry, the first 4 weeks before he broke his ankle. So for me, if I am Dallas, you gotta find a way to get this done. But it's Dallas. We can never figure out what Dallas got going on.
We'll see what happens in Jerry Country.
Yeah, it's true. And then we finish up with the NFC West. I think this is probably the most settled division of all in the entire league because we have now the Rams, they have Stafford, you have Arizona who have Kyler, you have Seattle that have Russ, but then you have San Francisco who has nobody because I Ken Griffith do not all right. Confession time. I was initially fooled, like the rest of the world, by Jimmy Garoppolo, who played 2 games and sat down behind Brady for a long time. And he's a real pretty man. He has nice olive skin. He has great chiseled cheekbones and a fantastic hairline, better than mine. And he had the whole world fooled that he was going to be the guy. And then he went to San Francisco and they threw 7 passes in the playoff game. Yeah, they were running the ball, but they threw 7 passes in the playoff game. He has not convinced me at all. So then we had CJ Beathard who came in injury relief because that's the other thing about Garoppolo. He is as sturdy as a wet soda bits biscuit. So we have Beathard that came in. Yeah, wet soda bits. We have Beathard that came in and looked okay in relief. And then he got hurt. We had Nick Mullins again, who came in and looked okay in relief and then went out. And what all of these quarterbacks coming in the same season when the San Francisco 49ers could not stop dropping like flies, but you still were able to get relatively decent production out of the quarterback position. What that tells me is that that's more about the coach and it is about the system than it is about the quarterback. And from that perspective, it gives me even less confidence in Garoppolo. But that's the guy that apparently y'all trying to get back. So let me hear you.
I expected, mind you, I do agree with you. I don't feel like Garoppolo has. I even according to Stephen A. Porn star Jimmy. I don't feel like he's gotten any better. I don't feel like he refuses to call him man Jimmy G, but I don't feel like he has gotten better since he's left and to be San Francisco starter. It feels like he's kind of stalled, and I don't know how much faith, like you said, making reference to the 7 throws. I don't know how much faith Shanahan really has in him. That being said, I feel like he's on the verge of a return to the Patriots just because it seems it just has a very ominous feel to it. It feels like his time is done in San Francisco. It honestly does. And we like to take back. We take back all our prodigal sons. So I feel like this is going to happen. I honestly feel like this is going to happen. But like I alluded to earlier, I feel like this, to me, this is the ideal landing spot for Deshaun. This is it, because of the situation that he'd be going into. I still have faith in Shanahan and this offense and in his ability to run his team. I feel like Deshaun is a perfect quarterback to plug into this situation, especially with the move that the Rams just made. The other two teams are set at quarterback. The Niners themselves are only, it would be 2 years out of making a Super Bowl. So they're not that, and the roster isn't far off of that either. Have one of the top tight ends in the game, some young up and coming receivers who have, for all intents and purposes, been very good with some average quarterback play. And and the running game is still decent enough. If I were them, I would still look at somebody else to bring in there. I'm just not convinced by that running back room, but they've been solid enough. But this is it for Deshaun for me. This is it. And I just feel like they would push to make that move because of what has been happening so far. They need to. Jimmy shouldn't be starting next season in that team.
To me, the only place that would be better for Deshaun than coming to the Saints in terms of offensive repertoire would be the 49ers, or would be on par. Because all right, so you say you're not convinced without running back room, but they rotate in and out those backs and they don't ever miss a beat.
No, that's true. It could just be me personally though. I just feel like they are better out there, but to be fair to them, they have done well.
And then when you look at the receivers that they have Deebo Samuel, they have Ayuk, whose first name I can't quite remember, right? Brandon Ayuk, and as you mentioned, they have George Kittle at tight end. Like, what more do you want? I mean, like I said, the only other place that I think would be commensurate would be New Orleans, but San Francisco would have us beaten on the tight end for sure. That's the only thing that they would probably edge us out on. Now, we've been here just about an hour, and we talk about the whole league and their quarterback situation, but we got to talk about this game. It would be remiss of us if we were to end his podcast and we said nothing about the Super Bowl, where your guy, Mr. Brady, is in his 10th game, and he's going up against what some people are calling the baby goat, and Patrick Mahomes. And I mean, we could talk about the whole entire game. For me, I'm looking at this game. I think the key to this game is going to be Tampa Bay's offense against Kansas City's defense. And the reason why I say that is because Tampa Bay's defense has not shown that it has not come up against an offense as dynamic as the Chiefs all season. When they went up against the Packers, they blew the doors off the Packers based on their defense. However, what I've seen from the Buccaneers, the majority of this postseason especially, is that if you force them to have to drive the length of the field, oftentimes they are not as successful as when they get short fields. Because when they played against the Saints, this was the point that I was saving. And when they played against the Saints, the touchdowns that they scored were all off of turnovers. They were all on short fields. When they played against the Washington football team, it was a similar situation. The first touchdown that they scored against Green Bay was drive the length of the field. But after that, all of their touchdowns came on short fields. They did not have to drive 75, 80 yards. If they are not able to get stops, or they're not able to get turnovers, and with this Kansas City offense, you're more likely to get a fumble than you are to get an interception. If they don't get any of those, it is going to be a very, very long day for Tampa Bay. And I cannot see, this is me picking the game now. I cannot see a way for them to win this game because the Chiefs are way too stacked on offense, and their defense, while it is not elite, it is good enough, it is strong enough to stymie that running game and force Tom into a shootout that he will not win.
Where to begin? Well, first of all, you would have to know that I'm not picking the Chiefs for this game,
Of
and
course.
you could call it head versus heart because my head is telling me that the Chiefs have this game locked, but but at the beginning of the season when Tom made this move, told all of y'all, this is it. This is going to be he going all the way, right? And even if you look at how I picked throughout the playoffs, the only two teams who at no point in time did I bet against were the Chiefs and the Bucks. I picked them for every single game that they played, and they won. Right. So in essence, I kind of expected this Super Bowl, right? And all of that being said, from the beginning of the season, like I said, it was Tom. It was about Tom and the Bucks. I'm not going against them, and I feel like, despite the fact that he has been like obviously the biggest change in their locker room and their just the way the team goes about playing, the defense is really good. I think the defense is times better than the Chiefs defense. They have been good in all three phases, getting pressure on the quarterback, and especially since the Chiefs are going to be without two of the linemen in is Mitchell Schwartz and Eric Fisher. Just saw today that two other players apparently might be out. I know DeMarcus Robinson is one. I mean, not a huge loss, but still. And then someone else, I can't remember, but
I think it's
due to
a
COVID,
center. I'm not sure if it's a
it's the
starting
center.
center, but
Okay,
a
okay.
center is out.
Yeah, and it was somebody else in another phase of offense. But yeah. So I still either way feel like it's going to be a shootout, but I'm going to I'm going to apply the rationale that I feel like Tampa Bay's defense is going to get enough pressure on Mahomes. I'm not saying not enough to stop him, but to make him uncomfortable. I don't feel like the Chiefs have enough to stop Tampa Bay, and I don't think that they'll make Tom throw all day. The running backs were really good in the last couple of games. I feel like they're going to lean on them again, and then you see Tom throwing here and there, unless they really fall behind. He has to, which I don't feel is going to happen. So I'm going to pick Tampa Bay. I'm saying Tampa Bay in a close shootout.
But I don't see the game to be that close because if they're going to be running
One possession. Whoever has the last possession will win, and they're going to be Tampa Bay.
I don't see it. I honestly don't see it that way because if they're going to be looking to run to rely on that running game, we have seen Kansas City go up against the Baltimore Ravens this season, and their defense was good enough to halt that running game. Tampa Bay's running game is not as dynamic as like Tennessee, for example. Like Fournette has been better coming into the playoffs. Jones has been worse coming into the playoffs. But based on what we've seen so far,
He made the number one though, so that's fine.
but that's it. No, you're putting your hope then in them, just like what a lot of these other teams try to do with Kansas City is that they're going to have to try to shorten the game. They're going to have to try to pound the ball and keep Mahomes on the sideline while the clock is just ticking away. Because you know that Kansas City Chiefs offense is a big play offense. So yeah, they might have Shaq Barrett and I don't remember the other linebacker's name right now.
Mainly JPP, yeah. Shaq Barrett and JPP, Jason
All right.
Pierre-Paul.
So you got JPP coming off the edge, but we have seen the Chiefs' offensive line be good enough to at least give Mahomes enough time to make something happen. And
yeah, with their starters and with the Pro Bowl and first pick Eric Fisher, that's true. Let's see how they do without him. Let's see how they do without him and Schwartz.
But even before him and Schwartz, so the Tampa Bay defense is mostly going to come out looking to blitz and put pressure on these replacement players because, especially with, like I said, I saw that the center was one of the guys who was going to be out, but I do not know the names of their offensive linemen to tell you that he is the starting center. However, COVID, close contact, he and Demarcus Robinson more than likely are going to be out for this game. So it's going to be interesting to see what Tampa Bay tries to do to get pressure on Mahomes. However, you know that Mahomes is able to beat the blitz. And if you're
Which is
blitzing
why
up
the game
front,
gonna be close. Which is why I think the game gonna be
if
close.
you're blitzing up front, that means that you're going to either have holes in your zone or you're going to be trying to play man to man on the back end. And who do you double? You can't double Kelsey because if you double Kelsey, that means you leave Tyreek Hill free. You double Tyreek Hill, then Kelsey is free. You try to double both of them, then you have Mecole Hardman that can still burn you over the top, and his hands are better than most of the butterfingery guys that we've seen this season, like what happened in Green Bay. So, and at the end of the day, you
You
still
say so
have
after he drop he muffed one of the punts
he
last week.
he is still better than Lazard. He is still better than Marquez Valdez-Scantling. He is a problem that if you try to take the guys out underneath, then he will kill you over the top. And we have seen Mahomes already take a snap and run backwards like 12 yards and then launch the ball down the field and make a completion like another 40 yards that way. So it is pick your poison. You cannot stop the pass altogether. And if you can't rush for and get home before, then you're going to have problems trying to hold up at the back end with 6 or 7. So you have to pick your times when you're going to try to blitz. You're going to have to do all sorts of creative things to try to scheme up something different to try to confuse Mahomes. But at the end of the day, it is still Patrick Mahomes. It is still Tyreek Hill. It is still Mecole Hardman, Muff Punt and all. It is still Travis Kelsey. They're going to have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who we should expect will be better this game than he was in the championship game when he was no coming back from injury. They still have Darrell Williams, who started at running back every game. I mean, Le'Veon is not the Le'Veon of Pittsburgh, but they still have Le'Veon Bell. They have too much, AJ. They have way too much
Yeah,
for me to
that
pick
sounds good on
against
paper.
them.
That
I'm
sounds good on
sorry.
paper. That sounds good on paper. And I don't blame you for picking them. I don't blame you for picking them. I feel like if there's any team, I feel like that we have seen sort of like this, a few chinks in their armor already, and those can be exploited. I don't care how great Patrick Mahomes is, and I think that this Bucks team is one of the most equipped to be able to do that. At the end of the day, I mean, luck is opportunity and preparation. I feel like why am I saying that so much? I believe that the Bucks will be prepared, especially with who is going to be taking those snaps. This man knows he knows this situation. He's been here plenty of times. On the other on the other side of Patrick Mahomes, you have somebody coming up who knows how to get it done. The defense has been playing lights out, in my opinion. So yeah, I expect that the Bucks are going to take this game. I'm going to. I have to ride with it. I have to ride with it. I've been saying it since week 1.
But you're saying that on the Buck side of things, they have a guy who knows how to get it done. All right, that is fair. 6 and 9, cool.
On offense, yeah.
Yeah, cool, no problem. Who else? It's him and Gronk. Those are the only two in that entire organization. Unless you're going to
JPP on the defensive side. Don't forget he beat us with the Giants.
okay, all right.
So they have a winner on defense as well. They have a winner on defense. Wasn't Shady with KCC last year? With Kansas City last year? Mm-hmm. So there you go. You have Shady. More
Shady has not put on a uniform in about 2 or 3 weeks.
I'm not talking about what he'll do in terms of ability on the field. I'm talking about They have a champion in the dressing room. That's what we into now, right? That's what we talking about now, right?
All right.
Right.
So Brady, Jason Pierre-Paul, LaShawn McCoy,
And
Gronk.
Gronk.
So they got four champions, right? Compared to Kansas City's, sorry, they got five because we will give Bruce Arians his ring from him being a coordinator with the Steelers in Pittsburgh. So they got five. Then on the other side of the ball, we got um, Eric Bieniemy, who
But
we got Andy Reid, we got
but
Spagnuolo, we have
it wasn't a comparison. I wasn't saying that obviously they're the reigning champs, so the majority of that organization they were here just last year. So I wasn't necessarily comparing to say that the Bucks have more. I'm just saying if looking at them in isolation, they're not in a position where everyone is brand new to the stage. That's all. The Chiefs are the defending champs, so yes, they have that personnel as well. But the Bucks they're not completely fresh. They're not green. They some of these men are already ripe. They've been here. They've been
all
here.
it all it is, right? Is that you have like a tomato plant out there in the yard, and it give you some offshoots, right? Spring is a few months away, so it give you a couple of little buds, and you see the buds and you say, "Ah, boy, we got some tomatoes coming." And then when they start to bloom, you get like two or three of them that may turn red fast, but then all the rest of them you gotta wait on them. You gotta hope that they can actually grow and develop and be something that worth picking. That is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now. You said they got a couple. They got a couple sunripe tomatoes on the vine. However, the majority of that vine no got to mature. On the other side, we got we got the we got the horses for the course. They've already
That's all
done it.
right. That's all right. That's all
So
right. And that's all right because and to be honest, even though we call those names in terms of the players, yes, still give Bruce Arians his respect. But in terms of the players, the two main ones I was thinking about in this regard are Tom on the offense and JPP on the defense. In terms of the championship, that championship caliber, that championship DNA, essentially. Those are the two because I feel like those are the ones that have the mindset. And Jason Pierre-Paul has been having an amazing offseason, right? That's why I'm putting it there. I mean, yeah, Gronk and LaShawn and Shady have their rings, but they've really been doing much in the offseason. I'm talking about these two players who have been impacting the team. So when it comes down to it, I feel like they can be leaders. I get what you're saying completely, but I have enough faith in them to be leaders on either side of this team, on the offense and defense. I don't care what you say, I'm picking the Bucks. Sticking with the Bucks.
well, you do that, sir. This will make for an entertaining conversation when we recap the Super Bowl next week.
One of us had to be wrong. One of us got to be wrong.
Yeah, I think this is the first time that we have come down so heavily on both sides, on opposite sides of the coin. So it will make for an interesting conversation when we recap what happened in the big game next week. So I think this is a good spot that we can end it for this week. We spent an hour talking about what happened with these quarterbacks in the NFL, and then we finished up previewing the big game. I believe that this is going to make for a great game, regardless of who wins. It's going to be
Agreed.
a fantastic spectacle to watch. It will not be like the Patriots beating the Rams because that was the snooze fest. And I just sat there and watched that game and said, "Look at God," because the Rams had no right there in the first place. This has
And let it
been the
go.
GreenBaje podcast. This has been the GreenBaje podcast. That is AJ. This is Ken. Like, subscribe, give us some follow, give us some feedback, tell a friend. We will see you next week.